My name's Jason, I'm 34, and I used to think that love, real, lasting love, was something you could build like a house. With enough work, it'd stand through anything. I met Vanessa when I was 26. She was lightning in a bottle, sharp-tongued, ambitious, and the kind of woman who turned heads without trying. I was quieter, steadier. I worked in architecture, and I liked things with structure. She thrived on chaos. Somehow, we balanced each other out, for a while. When we got married at 29, I thought we were solid. We bought a house together, we split bills, we hosted dinner parties. She said she wanted to wait before kids so she could focus on her career. I supported her. I handled most of the housework, ran errands, stayed up late helping her prep for big client meetings. I thought we were a team. I didn't realize she'd started seeing me as dead weight until it was too late. Things shifted about a year ago. Little things at first. She stopped kissing me goodbye in the mornings. We stopped having dinner together. I'd get home from work and find her already in bed, scrolling through her phone with this glazed, distant look. I'd ask if everything was okay, and she'd smile, tight-lipped, and say, "Just tired." That was her favorite phrase for the last few months of our marriage. Just tired. Around March, she started spending more weekends away. Girls' trips, she called them. I never questioned it. I trusted her. And I think, deep down, I didn't want to know what was really happening. I didn't want to admit that the woman I loved was pulling away, one silent mile at a time. Then came our 6th wedding anniversary. She told me weeks in advance that she was planning a surprise party. "Don't make any plans," she said. "It's going to be special." She smiled in that way people do when they know something you don't. I figured she was finally rekindling things, maybe trying to reset us. I bought her a necklace she'd been eyeing for months. Had it engraved with the coordinates of where we first met. I was ready to fight for us. The party was at her parents' estate, which should have been the first red flag. I arrived and immediately noticed something was off. There were banners that read "Fresh Starts" and "To New Beginnings." I thought maybe her parents were renewing their vows or something. But no. Every eye turned to me as I stepped into the backyard, and it hit me like a punch. This wasn't our anniversary party. This was something else entirely. She stood by the gazebo in a white dress, not bridal, but flashy, and as soon as she saw me, she waved me over like I was late to my own funeral. I walked up, confused, clutching the little velvet box in my pocket like a fool. Then she grabbed the mic. "Everyone," she said, her voice bright and rehearsed. "Thank you for being here tonight. This is a special evening, because I finally get to let go of what's been holding me back." I blinked. She turned to me, and with the mic still in her hand, pulled a manila envelope from behind her back. "Jason," she said, loud enough for every cousin, aunt, co-worker, and friend of a friend to hear. "This marriage has been educational, but I've outgrown it. And tonight, I'm upgrading." She handed me the envelope. Inside were divorce papers. My heart didn't break, it froze. I couldn't even feel my hands. Her sister hooped and clapped like she was watching a gender reveal. Her mother popped open a bottle of champagne and handed flutes around. Her uncle actually took photos, like it was some triumphant, Instagram-worthy celebration of freedom. I didn't move at first, just stared at the envelope in my hand. And then, with every ounce of strength I had, I smiled. Not because I was okay, but because I refused to let her take my dignity too. I pulled the pen from her hand, signed the papers, handed them back, and said, "Thank you for the reminder." And I walked out, past the clapping, past the cameras, past the life we'd built that apparently meant nothing to her anymore. The drive home was quiet. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat in silence, my hands tied on the wheel, trying to piece together what had just happened. By the time I got back to our house, my house, now, I knew one thing. I wasn't going to fall apart for someone who popped champagne at my humiliation. I took a leave of absence from work for a month. Got therapy. Got a lawyer. Transferred the house into my name. She hadn't touched the paperwork after we refinanced, so it was easy. I canceled all our shared accounts. I even reached out to a few mutual friends, and let's just say, the story they told about her girls' trips added up with what I found on her old iPad. Apparently, upgrading meant a tech startup guy named Brandon. Younger, flashier, dumber, from what I could gather based on his social media posts. I didn't confront her. I didn't rage. I just disappeared from her world with the kind of clean silence that echoes longer than shouting ever could. Months passed. I sold the house, moved to a different city. Took a higher paying job that gave me a view of the water from my office window. I started running again, reading again, living again. Then this morning, exactly 6 months from that backyard humiliation, my phone buzzed. 10 missed calls, all from Vanessa. Then came the texts. Can we talk? I miss you. I made a mistake. And the last one? Please, just open the door. I looked out my window. There she was, parked at my gate, makeup smudged, hair a mess, eyes red from crying. But I didn't move. I just sat there, watching, while the silence hung in the air like a question with no good answer. I watched her for a while from behind the curtain. She didn't see me. She just sat there, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. Every few seconds, she'd glance down at her phone, probably hoping I'd reply. Then she'd look up at the gate again. She must have been parked there for at least 20 minutes. I won't lie. Part of me felt something twist in my chest. Not because I missed her, but because I used to love her. Genuinely. I would have burned down the world for her once. And now here she was, ashes in her own fire. She did this. Not just to me, but to us. And that weight, that was hers to carry. I leaned back and sat down on the edge of my couch, the text still glowing on my phone. Please, just open the door. It wasn't the first time she'd reached out. A few weeks ago, she sent a message asking if I'd be open to a conversation, followed by some vague apology. I ignored it. Then came the LinkedIn notification. She viewed my profile. She even liked a comment I left on someone else's post, which was about as subtle as a car alarm at midnight. I figured it was just regret creeping in. But this? Showing up at my place unannounced, crying at my gate? This was different. I stood and walked toward the front of the apartment, peeking through the curtain again. She was out of the car now, leaning against the hood, arms crossed tightly like she was trying to hold herself together. From this distance, I could just make out the mascara trails under her eyes. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She looked at it, didn't answer, and shoved it in her pocket. That was when the doorbell rang. I didn't flinch. I just stood there. She was buzzed in once before, back when this place had our name on the lease. Back when we thought furniture and coffee mugs meant permanence. But now I had one name on everything, and hers wasn't it. The intercom buzzed again. Jason, her voice cracked through the speaker. Please, just give me 5 minutes. Silence. I know I don't deserve it, but I don't know who else to turn to. I could hear her breathing. It wasn't a performance anymore. This wasn't champagne popping Vanessa. This was something raw, cracked, and small. The woman who used to command a room now sounded like she couldn't fill a whisper. I didn't answer. She didn't press it again. I watched her sit down on the cold stone step of the gate, hugging her knees like a child. She stayed like that for a long time. Minutes passed. Maybe 10. Maybe 20. I went back to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and tried not to think too much. But my mind kept going back to that night 6 months ago. The moment she handed me the divorce papers wasn't the worst part. No, the worst part was that look in her eyes. Not cruelty, not guilt, just indifference. Like I was already filed away in her mental storage, and she'd moved on to shinier things. But now she was the one left in the cold. My phone buzzed again. Vanessa. Brandon left. Took everything. He said I was too much drama. My friends won't answer. My sister told me I got what I deserved. She laughed. I stared at the message. Slowly, the words sank in. So Brandon was gone. The guy she left me for had bailed. Classic. These men who chase the thrill, they rarely stay for the reality. And Vanessa? She'd bet on the wrong horse. Again. But part of me wondered if this was really about me, or just about convenience. Did she regret losing me? Or did she just miss the life I gave her? The safety, the steadiness. The man who held her hair back when she was sick, who fixed the sink without being asked, who remembered anniversaries when she couldn't be bothered to look at a calendar. I opened the text thread, typed 3 words, then deleted them. I wasn't ready to reply. Not yet. Instead, I walked out onto the balcony. She looked up when she saw movement. Her eyes went wide, hopeful. I didn't wave. I didn't speak. I just stared back. She stood, brushing herself off like she didn't want to seem weak. Even from up here, I could see the way she tugged her coat tighter, like that could somehow shield her from the cold truth of what she'd done. Then she called out, Jason. Her voice cracked. I don't care if you hate me. I needed to say I'm sorry. To your face. I leaned on the railing, arms crossed. I didn't say a word. She took a few hesitant steps toward the front door, not past the gate, just far enough that she could see me clearly. You didn't deserve what I did. None of it. I thought I was chasing something better. But I didn't realize you were the better. You always were. I kept my face still. I let people laugh at you. I let them treat you like a joke. And I stood there while you walked away. I didn't stop you because I thought I'd already won. But I lost more than I understood. I turned and walked back inside, not slamming the door, not storming away, just leaving. And I left her standing there, alone with her words. I sat on the couch and stared at the necklace I never gave her, still tucked in its box, still engraved with the coordinates of where we met. I should have thrown it out months ago, but some part of me held on. Not for her, for the man I used to be, and maybe for the man I am now. I looked at the gate camera feed. She was still standing there, waiting. But this time, I was the one holding the pen. And what I write next, that's where the Rayal story begins. I stayed on the couch for a long time, watching her on the gate cam. She didn't yell. She didn't plead. She just stood there like someone trying to outwait a storm. And part of me wondered if that was her strategy all along. Endure just long enough until I cracked. But she didn't know me anymore. She didn't know how far gone I was from the man who used to bend over backwards for her, who used to ask what he did wrong every time she hurt him. The man who used to apologize just to keep the peace, who thought love meant sacrifice without limit. That man, he died the night she handed me those papers like a hostess handing out party favors. Still, I won't pretend it was easy. Watching her shiver outside my gate felt like trying to ignore an open wound. There was a time I would have wrapped my arms around her without hesitation, no matter how badly she'd hurt me. But time has a way of hardening people, of turning love into a bruise you keep poking, just to make sure it still hurts. My phone buzzed again. Vanessa, I'm not here to get anything from you. I just needed you to see me, to know I'm not pretending anymore. I didn't respond, but I read it again and again, until I found myself standing by the door, fingers brushing the handle like muscle memory was stronger than logic. I cracked the door just enough to feel the air slip through. It was cold, and it carried something sharp with it. Maybe truth, maybe finality. I didn't let her in, but I stepped out. She turned immediately when she heard the door, her breath hitching. Jason, she said softly, like my name was something fragile she hadn't dared speak aloud in months. I didn't speak. I just stood there, hands in my coat pockets, staring at her through the bars of the gate like she was a ghost. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, the kind she used to wear on Sundays when we'd stay in and make pancakes. But she wasn't that woman anymore, and I wasn't that man. Thank you, she said, her voice trembling, for at least letting me see you. I raised an eyebrow. Why are you here, Vanessa? Really? She hesitated. Because everything I thought I wanted turned out to be hollow. Brandon was exciting, sure, but he didn't know how to love anyone but himself. And my friends? They were only ever around when I had something to offer. And when I didn't, they vanished. That's unfortunate, I said, my tone flat. But there was something bitter clawing its way up my throat. Sounds like a rough wake-up call. She took a breath, wiping her eyes with her sleeve. It is. And I'm not asking for anything. I know I don't have the right. I just wanted you to know that you weren't the problem. You were the best part of my life, and I was too blind to see it. I let the silence stretch. I wanted her to feel it, to sit with it like I had to sit with the quiet after she left. The mornings I woke up to an empty bed. The nights I couldn't sleep because every room in the house echoed with absence. 6 months ago, I said slowly, you humiliated me in front of everyone you knew. You clapped. Your family toasted. Your uncle took photos like it was a red carpet event. Do you have any idea what that did to me? She nodded, tears filling her eyes again. I was cruel. I know. No. Cruel is easy to forgive. That was calculated. You choreographed it, like it was a performance. And I was just a prop you needed to dispose of. She flinched, and for a moment, I almost felt bad. Almost. I'm not here to rewrite history, she whispered. I needed to tell you, face to face, that I regret it. All of it. Losing you? It gutted me in ways I didn't expect. I stared at her, and for a flicker of a second, I saw the woman I married. Not the one who handed me papers, not the one who laughed at my expense, but the girl I met in college, who stayed up late helping me study for licensure exams, who kissed me in grocery store aisles when she thought no one was watching. But nostalgia is a liar. It shows you the good through a filter and erases the parts that should warn you. I stepped forward, closer to the gate. You don't get to come back because things didn't work out with Brandon. I'm not. I held up a hand. Let me finish. She closed her mouth and nodded. I loved you. Truly. And for a long time, I thought that meant I was supposed to take whatever you gave me, no matter how little it was. But you know what I realized? Love isn't just about giving. It's about being respected. And that night at your parents' place, you didn't just take off the ring. You tore apart everything we'd built. Her shoulders sagged. She looked down. And now, I continued, voice steady, I don't hate you, but I don't trust you. And I can't let someone back in who saw me as disposable. She didn't argue, didn't fight. She just whispered, I understand. I waited, watching her. She took a deep breath and stepped back toward her car. And that's when she said it, soft, almost inaudible. I just wanted to see the man I gave up one more time. I didn't respond. She got in the car, sat there for a minute, then slowly pulled away, taillights fading into the night. I stood there long after the sound of her engine disappeared, hands still in my pockets, heart still heavy, but not broken. Not anymore. And as the gate closed behind her, something inside me did too. But what she left behind, that was just starting to open. I watched her car disappear down the road, her headlights flickering out like the last ember of a fire I'd kept alive too long. For a moment, the night was still, so still, I could hear the wind moving through the trees like it was exhaling for me. Then the gate clicked shut, and with that, I turned and walked back inside, closing the door behind me. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just stood in the silence of my apartment, letting it wrap around me. It didn't feel empty anymore. It felt mine. The next morning, I woke up early and made myself coffee, just one mug, black, the way I liked it before she started buying those flavored creamers and cinnamon syrups. I took it out to the balcony, watching the city slowly come to life below me. There was peace in that moment. No noise, no begging texts, just the quiet hum of traffic, the warmth of a new day, and the awareness that I had made it to the other side. I half expected her to text again, to say something desperate, but she didn't. Maybe because she finally understood, or maybe because she knew there was nothing left to say. A week passed, then two, and just like that, she vanished from my life again. Only this time, it was because I closed the door. For good. Then something strange happened. I started getting messages. From her family. Her sister, the same one who clapped when Vanessa handed me those papers. She'd met me on Instagram. Hey, I know this is random, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry for how that night went down. I didn't know she was going to humiliate you like that. I thought it was just a weird divorce party joke. I wasn't clapping for you getting hurt. I was clapping because, well, I didn't know what else to do. You didn't deserve any of it. I stared at the message, reread it twice, and deleted it without replying. Not out of spite, just because I didn't need their guilt. That was their problem to sit with now. Then her mom emailed me. Emailed. She had the nerve to say she regretted celebrating something so personal and asked if I'd be willing to talk to Vanessa just once more because she hadn't been the same since I walked away from her that night at the gate. That one. I did reply. Thank you for your message. But I think it's time Vanessa leans on the people who cheered when she tore me down. I won't be part of her recovery arc. I hit send and blocked the email. That felt good. Because the thing is, I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't hate Vanessa. I just saw her clearly. And sometimes, clarity is more powerful than rage. Rage burns out. Clarity sticks. The real ending, though? That came a few months later. I was at a small business mixer downtown, hosted on the rooftop of a fancy co-working space. One of those events with string lights, overpriced cocktails, and a DJ who played music way too loud for anyone to actually network. I was there because a new firm was courting me, and I figured it wouldn't hurt to meet their team in person. That's when I saw her. Not Vanessa. Bridget. Bridget was one of the mutual friends who'd quietly disappeared during the divorce drama. We hadn't talked since, and I didn't blame her. She was always closer to Vanessa. But she walked over, drink in hand, and smiled. Jason, she asked, tilting her head like she wasn't quite sure if it was me. I nodded. Hey, Bridget. You look. She glanced me over, eyes widening a bit. You look good. Thanks. You too. We chatted. Nothing heavy. Work, weather, music, travel. And just when I thought she was going to bring up her, Bridget surprised me. You know, she said, I always wondered how you stayed so calm that night. If it had been me, I think I would have flipped the table. I smirked. Trust me, I thought about it. She laughed, but then her face softened. Vanessa's a mess now. She keeps talking about you. Says she lost the only person who ever made her feel safe. I don't think she even understands why she did it. Maybe she thought someone flashier would make her feel more valuable. She didn't need someone flashy, I said. She needed therapy. Bridget nearly spit out her drink laughing. Okay, that was good. We ended up talking for over an hour. She was sharp, funny, grounded, and completely uninterested in dragging Vanessa into the conversation again, which I appreciated a lot. We exchanged numbers, not in that forced, we should catch up sometime way, but because it felt easy, like the start of something that wasn't trying to fix the past, just move forward. That night, as I got home, I passed by the drawer where I'd kept Vanessa's necklace. I opened it for the first time in months. The box was still there. I picked it up, opened it, and stared at the engraved coordinates. The cafe where we met. The stupid little cafe where she tripped over my chair and spilled her latte. We laughed. We talked for hours. It had meant something once. But now? Now it was just a pin on a map that led to nowhere. So I closed the box, and I walked it straight to the trash chute in the hallway. The clang of the metal lid slamming shut echoed like punctuation. The final period on a chapter I'd let run on far too long. A few weeks later, I went on a date with Bridget. Then another. Then a weekend trip. Then a quiet night on my couch watching old movies and laughing at how bad our pizza order was. And the whole time, I didn't think about Vanessa once. Not when Bridget held my hand. Not when she leaned into me during a horror movie. Not even when she accidentally knocked over my favorite mug and apologized 100 times while trying to clean it up with the sleeve of her hoodie. Because this, whatever it was, felt nothing like before. It felt new, honest, simple. And maybe that's what real love is supposed to feel like. Not fireworks and grand gestures, but quiet safety. The kind that doesn't need applause, or champagne, or an audience. The kind that stays. Months passed. Life moved on. I moved on. And Vanessa? The last I heard, she moved in with a cousin. Tried to rebuild. Maybe she's healing. Maybe she's still chasing upgrades. But she won't find what she had with me. Because what we had, she handed it away, smiling, while people cheered. And me? I didn't just walk away. I walked forward. And I never looked back. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.